Right, so we're going to talk about Jim Ross today. I did do a poll, but no one actually did anything on it, so I just chose somebody I wanted, and you can tell I'm in a different place of the house today. So yeah, we're going to get into Jim Ross. If the lighting goes up and down, it's because of the sun in the background, so that's probably why. If I move, as you can tell, it's going to go lighter and darker. So yeah, there's no way. Sorry. Right, so I'm going to get into Jim Ross a bit. You do see a different angle between pauses. That's because I've moved the thing where I'm holding it. So yeah, let's get into Jim Ross. We're going to start with like the basic stuff about him and all that lot. So Jim Ross is an American professional wrestling commentator, sports announcer, and podcaster. He is signed to All Elite Wrestling, where he serves as commentator as well as a analyst and senior advisor. Ross is best known for his long and distinguished career as a play-by-play commentator for WWE, known affectionately by WWE fans as Good Old JR. Ross has been labelled as the greatest wrestling commentator of all time. Ross, while in WWE, was occasionally involved in storylines and also participated in 9 wrestling matches from 1999 to 2011. After working various jobs in the professional wrestling industry, Ross became the primary play-by-play announcer in Mid-South Wrestling in the early 80s, and he went on to do commentary for the NWA and the NWA's World Championship Wrestling territory before jumping to WWF, now WWE, making his first appearance for the promotions and for the promotion at WrestleMania. In 1993, during his tenure with WWE, Ross was widely regarded as the voice of the company, particularly during the Attitude Era of the late 90s and early 2000s. He was the lead English language announcer for New Japan Pro Wrestling on AXS TV from 2015 to 2018, and has occasionally done play-by-play for boxing and the MMA fights. He has been inducted into the WWE, NWA, and the Wrestling Observer's Newsletter Hall of Fame, and has been honoured by George Trago's Lou Thesz Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame twice. Outside of wrestling, Ross is known for his barbecue sauce and beef jerky brand, JL's Family BBQ, and he hosts his own weekly podcast called Grilling JR. Right, so we're going to start with his broadcasting career in professional wrestling, starting with the NWA Tri-State Mid-South Wrestling and UWF between 1974 and 87. So while attending the Northeastern State University, Ross gained early broadcasting experience working for college radio stations. This background to his entry into professional wrestling commentary when he was offered a position at the local NWA Tri-State promotion, stepping in for an announcer who was unexpectedly unavailable for the event. So Ross began his career in the promotion in 1974 as a referee, in a role he had held until 1977 before transitioning to the broadcast team following Bill Watts' basically when Bill Watts got the NWA Tri-State in 1982 and he's rebranded into the Mid-South Wrestling, later UWF. Ross was promoted to lead play-by-play announcer. He also assumed the administrative responsibilities with the promotion. As the promotion's vice president of marketing during his tenure, he called his first NWA World Heavyweight Championship match featuring Ric Flair and Ted DiBiase. So for Jim Rocket Promotions and WCW between 1986 and 1993. So in 1987, following Jim Crockett Jr.'s God, I can't say things today. So basically when he got the Universal Wrestling Federation and its merger with Jim Crockett's Promotions, Ross joined the newly combined organisation as a colour commentator. He worked alongside David Crockett and Tony Schiavone. And was soon promoted to play-by-play commentator for the National Wrestling Alliance. Ross continued this role with JCP, was purchased by Turner Broadcasting Systems and rebranded WCW. Following WCW's departure from NWA in 1991, Ross was paired with the longtime NWA commentator Bob Caudle, and also Paulie Dangerously. Around this time, Ross briefly expanded into mainstream sport broadcasting, serving as a commentator for one season of the Atlantic Falcons radio coverage in 1992. Over time, Ross advanced to become WCW's head of broadcasting. However, in his tenure, he was marked as a strained professional relationship with Eric Bischoff as rising commentator and future executive. Ross later claimed that Bischoff effectively promoted himself to WCW's leadership, ultimately leading to the shift in the internal dynamics. Conversely, Bischoff alleged that Ross had shown favouritism under the direction of then WCW booker Bill Watts. In 1993, after Bischoff was promoted to executive producer, Ross requested that he granted release from his contract. Though Ross had a 3-year agreement with Turner Broadcasting Systems, he opted for immediate buyout, citing concerns that he would be sidelined from on-air work for extended period, according to wrestler Mick Foley. Ross also resigned from WCW's booking committee around the time he officially departed from WCW after being removed from television by Bischoff. Now we're going to get into his 10 years with WWE from 1993 to 2013. So Ross joined WWF, later WWE, in early 1993 and made his on-screen debut at WrestleMania, held at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. He replaced Gorilla Monsoon on Wrestling Challenge and worked with Bobby Heenan until Heenan's departure later that year. Ross also called major pay-per-view events, including WrestleMania and King of the Ring, before Vince McMahon resumed lead commentary duties beginning of SummerSlam 1993. Ross pitched for the idea of Radio WF, a short-lived radio program where he and Monsoon discussed wrestling news and interviewed talent. They also called select events such as SummerSlam, Survivor Series in 1993 and 1994 Royal Rumble for the broadcast. While acknowledging the weakened influence of Vince McMahon was getting as a result of the government investigation against him with some major charges, WWF talent, which occurred in tandem with his debut of the company, such as Luna Vachon now being able to use her Bizarro type gimmick after debuting at WrestleMania, the Lone Riders Kip Winchester and Bret Colt being able to debut the company after WrestleMania under the revamped Billy and Bart Gunn, and being given a cowboy themed tag team gimmick, the Smoking Guns. Where was I? And then Brian Clark being revamped as Adam Bomb, and also Mike Shaw, who Ross previously got signed to WCW as Norman the Lunatic, being signed to WWF, where he became known as Bastion Booger. Ross has been stated that he was, at the time, only employed as on-screen talent. Barrett Media also described Ross' relationship with the WWF as the time of as a rollercoaster ride. In 1994, Ross suffered his first bout of Bell's palsy. He was released by the company 2 weeks later, and on February 11th afterwards, Ross worked as an announcer for Smoky Mountain Wrestling, reuniting with longtime broadcast partner Bob Caudle, and resumed duties with the NFL Atlanta Falcons. Ross was briefly rehired in mid-1994 during the Vince McMahon federal trial, providing commentary on Monday Night Raw alongside Randy Savage while McMahon was absent. After McMahon's acquittal, Ross was released again, reportedly due to leaking company information. He returned once more to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. In December of 1994, Ross rejoined WWF for the third time. Initially relegated to syndicate programming, he returned So the main announced team in 1996, that September, Ross turned heel in an on-screen storyline where he claimed to be bringing back Razor Ramon and Diesel. Characters previously portrayed by Scott Hall and Kevin Nash on Raw. He delivered the work shoot promo, criticising Vince McMahon inducing the new performers in these roles. The angle was widely panned and dropped soon after. Following this, Ross resumed his commentary duties across the various shows, including Superstars, Action Zone, Raw is War, and Shotgun Saturday Night. In December 1998, while broadcasting Captain Carnage in London, he suffered a second Bell's palsy attack shortly after learning his mother's death. He returned to Raw in March 8, 1999, in a storyline where he confronted Michael Cole, his on-air replacement. Ross claimed that he was fired because of his condition and tried to reclaim his commentary role, even setting up his own desk label JR is Raw. The crowd led the WWF to reinstate Ross permanently, starting with WrestleMania, and it was in this era that he used his phrase, "like a government mule," became particularly prominent. And then later that year, WCW made a parody of Ross's condition through a controversial character named Oklahoma, portrayed by Ed Ferrara. The parody was widely criticised, and WCW discontinued it following intervention by Turner Standards and Practices. Though offended, Ross later said that he did not hold Ferrara personally responsible. In 2001, he was assigned to the commentary team for WWF's NXL Football League nationally on a regional broadcast with Jerry Lawler. Ross later promoted to lead national telecast alongside Jesse Ventura, and after original host Matt Vazgasarian, there we go, got it kind of out, publicly criticised the production. Ross returned to the regional broadcast midway through the season. Throughout Monday Night War, Ross became recognised as the voice of Raw, forming a legendary commentary team with Lawler. After WWE introduced a brand split in 2002, Ross worked exclusively with Raw and pay-per-views. Outside commentary, Ross served as the ECP of Talent Relations, where he was key in hiring and developing talent. He stepped away from the roles in 2005, citing health, family, and personal business goals. In October 2005, Ross was written off television, being fired by Vince and Linda McMahon. In reality, he needed time off for his colon surgery. Joey Styles filled in during Ross's recovery. Ross returned in 2006 to call Saturday night's main event at WrestleMania 22 and Backlash, and he resumed his position on Raw in May after Styles' exiting storyline. Ross's contract expired in October of 2006, but he continued on a week-to-week basis until signing a one-year deal in November. March 31st, 2007, he was inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame by Stone Cold Steve Austin. And in the 2008 WWE Draft, Ross was unexpectedly moved to from Raw to SmackDown, ending his 12-year run on the Red brand. He was initially unhappy, stating that he had not been informed of this decision, but later pledged that he would help make SmackDown the best show possible. Ross made a one-night appearance on ECW in September 2008. Later became SmackDown's colour commentator alongside Todd Grisham. His final full-time commentary appearance was Hell in a Cell October 4th, 2009. He suffered a third bowel palsy attack later that month and took a leave from broadcasting. Ross returned sporadically over the next few years, and he appeared as on the Old School Raw special in 2010. And he resumed commentary early 2011 during Jerry Lawler's feud with Michael Cole. He appeared at WrestleMania and other episodes of Raw, but he was again fired in storyline by John Laurinaitis after Ross later claimed that he was not informed in the advance about the firing. He returned briefly for the matches and comedy segments through the remainder of 2011, And at WrestleMania 2012, Ross called the end of an era Hell in a Cell match between The Undertaker and Triple H. He also contributed to Raw for 1000 and began commentating on the revamped NXT, joining Byron Saxton and William Regal. That same year, Paul Levesque appointed Ross as an advisor to scout talent relations. After Lawler's on-air heart attack, September 10th, Ross filled in during his recovery. He was honoured in his hometown during Raw, dubbed the JR Appreciation Night. And in 2013, Ross began mentoring a new commentators at WWE Performance Center for the 20th year, and then he also returned on the 20th anniversary of Raw. And on August 16th, 2013, Ross hosted W2K14 panel where he appeared visibly fatigued, made unscripted comments including criticism of sponsor. Ric Flair also on the panel made controversial remarks. And on September 11th, Ross announced his departure from WWE, stating that his contract had expired, though if it was widely speculated that the panel led to his release. Ross later said that it was his comments about the sponsor that had caused concern. He also denied being intoxicated, attributing to his demeanour to Bell's palsy-related fatigue. Vince McMahon later confirmed the situation contributed to Ross's exit, but said Ross left on his own terms and there was no lingering tension between them. So when he went to New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2015 to 2018, on July 4th, 2015, Ross and Matt Striker served the English language commentators for Global Force Wrestling presentation of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 9 in Tokyo Dome. And on January 19th, 2016, it was announced that Ross had signed to become the new lead announcer for NJPW's weekly programming on AXS TV along with Josh Barnett. Ross's contract was directly with AXS TV and not New Japan Pro Wrestling. It was revealed in November of 2018 that Barnett and Ross would no longer be doing NJPW commentary. In 2019, a New Japan World Commentary team took over broadcasting AXS shows until the contract ended in December of that year. Independent circuits between 2016 and 2019. So on the November 8th, 2016, Ross alongside Jim Cornette provided commentary for What Culture Pro Wrestling. First, IPPV Refuse to Lose, and on December 31st, Ross was on commentary for the pilot episode of World of Sport Wrestling on ITV. On February 12th, 2017, Ross returned to WCPW for commentary at IPPV, True Destiny, and for WCPW's loaded tapings at that same month. So his return to WWE on April 22nd, 2017, at WrestleMania 33, Ross returned to WWE providing commentary for the main event No Holds Barred match between The Undertaker and Roman Reigns. Shortly after the event, it was announced that Ross had signed a 2-year deal with the company. During the summer, Ross would provide commentary alongside Lita for the Mae Young Classic. And on January 22nd, 2018 episode of Raw 25 Years, Ross would reunite with Jerry Lawler as part of the commentary team. That was at Manhattan Center, in which Ross was caught several times on camera sleeping. And at WrestleMania 34, Ross called the 5th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal on WrestleMania 34's pre-show alongside Jerry Lawler and Byron Saxton. Ross's last televised appearance at WWE was part of the pre-show panel of the Greatest Royal Rumble on April 27th, 2018. Ross left WWE on March 27th, 2019 after electing to not renew his contract. Ross stated that the reason for his WWE departure was because I had too bookings in 2018, and they weren't using me very much. Ross also attributed that another factor is his to his departure was Ross himself saying that I still can do play-by-play even though others that may surround Vince think I can't. And in August 2019, Ross later revealed that he said to McMahon before he left, stating, Vince, unlike you, I still believe I can do it, and there are other people who believe that I can do it, including some of your audience. So, on April 3rd, 2019, it was announced that Ross had signed a 3-year deal with All Elite Wrestling as a commentator and senior advisor. Ross initially provided full-time commentary on AEW Rampage, and on January 5th, 2022, on an episode of Dynamite, Ross returned to TBS for the first time since 1993, and in June 2022, Ross switched from full-time commentary on Dynamite to full-time commentary on Rampage in a commentary team rotation swap with Taz. And on June 17th, 2023, Ross tweeted an image of his black eye, and he suffered due to a fall. He had worked at the debut episode of AEW Collision, but later announced that he would be stepping away to heel. On August 5th, 2023, Ross returned to AEW Collision commentary team, and he has since only provided commentary as an analyst for the main events in second hour of AEW Collision. Following his further surgery in February 2024, Ross returned on March 3rd, 2024 for Revolution to commentate Sting's retirement match. In August of 2024, he recorded separate sit-down interviews with Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland ahead of their match at All In, and later that month he revealed that he had broken his wrist, although expected to call the match at All In. And on August 25th, 2024, Ross commentated during the main event between Danielson and Strickland at All In. He returned September 7th, 2024 at All Out main event and unsanctioned matches. After 10 months away due to illness, Ross returned July 12th, 2025 at All In to provide commentary for the last 2 matches of the show. For National Football League in 1992, Ross joined the Atlanta Falcons radio broadcast team. However, he would not leave after 1 season, but he had a second stint with the Falcons in 1994. In boxing and mixed martial arts, Ross had made his debut calling boxing on May 26, 2014, but for Golden Boy Promotions at Fox Sport 1. Ross teamed up with MMA fighter and UFC veteran Charles Sonnen to commentate the Battlegrounds MMA One Night Tournament pay-per-view on October 3rd, 2014. In 2014, Ross began hosting his own podcast, The Ross Report, for Podcast One. It was later relaunched as part of the Westwood Podcast Network in 2018 as the Jim Ross Report. And in April 2019, Ross partnered with wrestling broadcaster and mortgage lender Conrad Thompson to revamp his podcast as Grilling JR. New format as a reminiscence about Ross's history in wrestling, much in the same style that Thompson's podcast with Bruce Pritchard, Eric Bischoff, Tony Schiavone, Kurt Angle, Jeff Jarrett, and Arn Anderson. So Ross's career has been mostly commentating, but he also has participated in matches with some notable success, including a victory over Triple H in a no-disqualification match in 2005, albeit with help from Batista. Another notable in-ring appearance by Ross was a tag team match broadcast to Jerry King Lawler against Al Snow and Jonathan Coachman in 2003 at Unforgiven, with their Raw broadcast jobs on the line. They lost the contest to Snow and Coachman due to their interference by Chris Jericho. However, 2 weeks later, Ross and Lawler regained their jobs when Ross defeated Coachman in a country whipping match using a stunner as a finisher maneuver. Ross had participated in more matches alongside Lawler, including a few with hardcore stipulations. In 2011, Ross competed against Michael Cole, an episode of Raw where he was defeated by Cole by disqualification after Cole's manager for the match, Jack Swagger, attacked Ross while he had Cole mounted and was landing punches on him. Ross had been involved in numerous other conflicts with other competitors, as well as Triple H, Val Venis, Jack Swagger, Vladimir Kozlov, Mankind, and Steve Austin. Ross has been bloodied in matches by then Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff and was even set on fire by Kane. Ross even main evented the WWF's first ever show from Georgia Dome, Atlanta, Georgia, and an episode of Raw is Raw that took place at October 11th, 1999. Ross teamed with Steve Austin and it took on to take on WWF champion Triple H and his partner Chyna. As part of the storylines, Ross had been regularly targeted by Vince McMahon in rather harsh circumstances throughout his time with WWE, most notably in 2005 when Vince McMahon's character, Mr. McMahon, featured in a series of segments in which made fun of him for having legitimate colon surgery, and this had been seen to be a form of bullying towards Ross by fans. And in 2011, after his firing, as announced by John Laurinaitis, he had returned to team up with John Cena to face Michael Cole and Alberto Del Rio with a tag match on Raw in a winning effort. Now, I did do a poll for what everyone wanted to see, but no one decided to go on and choose who they wanted this video to be on, so I just chose one. I was like, I'm just going to do Jim Ross because why not? That was alright. I'm in a different setting today because my stepmom's home and she's in the bedroom. I'm waiting all day to be doing a video. I thought I'm off. I'm going to do one whether she likes it or not somewhere. But yeah, I just thought I'd do Jim Ross. I had an idea of who I did want to do off the poll. I thought maybe Ric Flair, but his career would be very, very much an hour long. So that might have to be tomorrow's job when I get back from my driving lesson, which will probably be about 1:30ish, depending where I'm from, where I come from. So I'm thinking probably Ric Flair tomorrow. If I do it tomorrow. If I don't do it tomorrow, it might be a Friday job, and it probably won't be Ric Flair because she's off Friday. So I'll think of another one. I'm trying to do more videos where I can, especially the longer ones. I do a lot more shorts, but maybe I do live streams as well a lot now. But I'm thinking more longer videos as much as I possibly can, because sometimes I used to go like 2 months without doing one. Because right now I'm doing like 2 in a row, or I'm doing 1 a week where I can. I just want to get more out, try and get more of a following. Really, I'm getting there. The shorts are helping because I've got like 60 odd subscribers now. About 94 followers on TikTok and then 47 on Facebook. I'm not doing too well on Threads or Instagram though, but I'm trying, but yeah, I don't know what the next video is going to be. I don't think many people like me doing it like this, but it's the only way I can actually film anything right now because my computer is not letting me do anything on there. So I've got to do it like this, to be honest. But yeah, if there's a certain video you want, I'll try and talk about it. The flashing lights is because I've got the Royal Rumble on 2002 on, so yeah, but I'll think of something else to do for the next one.